All right, welcome to the Helix Real Review podcast. My name is Michael Gallant, and I'm here with my friend Eric Thompson.
Hi there.
We're here today hanging out on a beautiful Saturday afternoon here in Toronto, and it's been a nice day. We went for a little stroll on the beach, Eric and I, just talking about stuff, and I thought we'd start talking about some movies. Now, last night, he and I actually went and saw the new Star Trek Into Darkness movie, and, we'll get into that, and we have some opinions about that. But first, I just wanted to talk, it's been a while since I've done this, so there's a couple movies that I want to cover ground on, and I actually want to get Eric's opinion about a movie that he saw as well. So first, Eric, I'll throw it to you. Is there any certain movies that you want to talk about that you've seen recently?
Oh God.
All right, to put it more, to help kind of solidify it for you, I know that you've been talking about Pain and Gain.
Yeah. I saw Pain and Gain a couple weeks ago when it came out. I liked it. It was probably one of my more favorite Michael Bay movies, I'd say. Mark Wahlberg's
really?
great. Yeah, Mark Wahlberg's great. He plays that kind of so dumb he's funny character really well, and actually The Rock was actually pretty good too. He actually played like a character. He wasn't just like The Rock playing like a tough guy. Yeah, like he was actually kind of a character. Like he actually had a personality, and you could tell he was really actually like trying. Like he probably like I don't know, was researching his role and all that kind of stuff. And it's a pretty crazy story. I mean, I'm not going to give any spoilers, but the stuff that happens is pretty crazy in it. To think that it was all sort of based on true events. Now, how accurate those events were, I don't know, but even
you never know anymore.
Yeah, even if it was loosely based on some of that stuff, it's pretty crazy kind of what went down. But overall, Pain and Gain I thought was a pretty strong movie. It was definitely entertaining and definitely recommend it.
Would you say it was better than his Transformer movies?
Yeah, I mean, it was much different than the Transformer movies. I wasn't a fan of the last two Transformer movies. The first one I thought was pretty good.
Yeah.
I think it's more that, it's like, oh, this is a whole new, it's like you've never seen the Transformers before on screen. Right. And it's like, ooh, this is cool, that's cool. And like the second and third, kind of like most sequels, I think in general, we're just kind of, recycling a lot of the same stuff that the first one had.
Right.
Which is why I wasn't huge on those. But I'd say like I would watch Pain and Gain over Transformers, I think. But that's just my personal thing.
How many stars would you give it out of 5?
Out of 5, I'd give it a solid 3. 3.5 maybe? 3. Yeah, 3.5.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good. It's pretty much exactly what you'd expect.
Yeah.
From kind of an, action... Michael Bay, Mark Wahlberg.
How ripply were the men? Because all of them got massive. From what I saw in the trailers, they were all humongous.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you can definitely see Wahlberg is, like, all beefed up. And, like, The Rock almost doesn't look human. Like, The Rock is, like...
That's true,
you're like, how do you even get, like, your friggin' shoulder... Like, his shoulders are, like, bigger. Pretty sure that, like, wider than my entire body. Like, just his shoulder.
Yeah, one
it's
shoulder
like,
would be...
It's like me. His arm is like me. It's like, that guy is ridiculous, but yeah, those guys were absolutely ripped for that movie.
And they looked very glossy. Looks like they were always covered in like...
a lot of arm butter.
Spritz. Yeah, a lot of arm butter.
A lot of arm butter for The Rock on that one. But, I mean, it fits. It's like supposed to be Miami and like the heat, and it's very humid and sweaty, and, these guys are muscle heads and all that kind of stuff. So, but it was good. I liked it.
Yeah, I lived in South Beach when they filmed that last year.
Right.
And there's a lot of casting calls and stuff going out for that. And from what I can tell, like guys being huge and juiced up seems pretty right up the Miami alleyway.
Yeah, so. It's pretty common in that area.
And even, I know a part of the story had something to do, Tony Shalhoub was some sort of criminal that he was trying to get revenge on, or like some guy that...
The story was Tony Shalhoub was a successful... Yeah, he was like a millionaire dude, and who... I forget actually what his occupation was. I don't think he was necessarily a bad guy from what I could tell, from what I can remember. He was just kind of like a successful dude, and Mark Wahlberg worked at this local gym as a trainer.
Right.
And Tony Shalhoub was there trying to get in shape. He's just like a
okay,
rich guy trying to get in shape.
Yeah.
And Mark Wahlberg, was
Gets involved with them.
Well, yeah, like he was his trainer, right? And Tony Shalhoub's kind of like bragging to him as he's training about all the his lavish lifestyle, all that kind of stuff. And then the kicker is Mark Wahlberg goes to one of those, Tony Robbins type guys, which ends up being Ken Jeong. He's a motivational speaker guy about like seizing the moment and take what is yours and do it now and that kind of thing. So Wahlberg then from that point on, that's kind of the catalyst to him kind of deciding that he can basically kidnap Tony Shalhoub and kind of hold him for ransom because he knows he's got like millions and millions and millions of dollars.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And actually the plan, sorry, not hold him for ransom, but the plan is kidnap him and get him to sign over all of his assets to Mark Wahlberg, meaning like Mark Wahlberg's plan is like, okay, we'll kidnap him and we'll threaten to torture him unless he like signs these papers, these documents, basically signing over his entire fortune to Mark Wahlberg.
Right.
And so that was kind of Mark Wahlberg's plan. And then The Rock is just kind of like a new guy at the gym that Wahlberg kind of runs into. And he's not like the brightest guy, and he just got out of prison type thing. But he wants to be like, he wants to change his life around. He's like, he wants to do well, and kind of Mark Wahlberg ropes him into it. Kind of saying, it's just this one time, and then after that, we'll never break another law. We're not going to hurt anybody. Yeah, it's kind of like the old, we're not going to hurt anybody. We're not going to kill anybody. This is,
And then may I guess, do things go awry?
Yes, you may assume that things do not go as smoothly as Mark Wahlberg anticipates.
Damn it! Why can't it just go as smoothly as he wants it?
And that's where the hilarity comes in.
Sweet. Well, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
I definitely want to check that one out. I'm not one of those Michael Bay haters, I think. I'm one of those people that... Listen, he blows shit up better than anyone else. You can't deny it. And his movies, for the most part, are entertaining, whether they're well-written or whatever. They're not... One thing I'll always respect about him, too, and I see this... And I know this is supposed to be about Star Trek, and we're going off on Pain and Gain right now, but... One thing I'll always respect about Michael Bay, I once saw in an interview, he says, I shoot fast because in the film industry, there's nothing but waste. There's so much waste. You have 10 trucks for one scene here and there. It's like, and you spend 3 days shooting like a 2-minute scene in one location.
Right.
And he goes, and that's just not how I operate. It's like we go in, we shoot, we get the fuck out, we go to the next place. Yeah. We shoot, we keep going. And that's why his movies... Like, for instance, the last Transformers, it came out at the same time as Green Lantern, and I think they cost the same. But if you put those two movies beside each other, one has all the money on the screen, and then one, doesn't.
Yeah.
So, no matter what budget he's given, he seems to take it and run.
I mean, the one, again, yeah, like him or hate the story of Michael Bay and all that stuff, Pain and Gain is a really pretty movie to look at. It's a really well shot. It's got a lot of real cool camera things going on.
Exactly.
Even if you're not like a film buff or anything, it's just like fun to look at.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like regardless of anything else, it's just a good looking movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So I'll move on to just a couple movies I've seen recently before we get into Star Trek. Two movies I wanted to talk about, and I won't spend too much time on them, but I saw Oblivion, the Tom Cruise movie. Have you seen that?
I have not seen that yet, no. Heard it's good.
Yeah, it's actually pretty good. I know it got mixed reviews, and I think it made a lot of money. I don't think it was the homecoming Tom Cruise was looking for, but... it's kind of time that we just understood one fact, and that he's 50 years old, and he's probably at the end of his rope. Like now...
In terms of being an action star.
Yeah, he's still fit. He can still do a lot of what he needs to do, but he needs to start looking at himself differently. Because, and I say this because the main character, or his character, for instance, has a love interest... damn, I can't remember her name.
Kirilenko, right? Well, Isn't it a Russian girl from like this? Quantum
The
of
chick
Solace?
from Solace, yeah. Quantum of Solace, yeah.
Her name's like Olega Kirian.
Yeah. She looks at least 20 years younger than him.
Probably more than that in real life. Yeah.
Yeah, well, he's 50, so
He's probably like 23 or something.
I don't think she's that young, but she's probably not older than early 30s at most. And it's just becoming one of these things where you're watching, it's like, all right, Tommy, I know that you want to look like you have chemistry with these younger girls, but for instance, this movie had flashback scenes, right? To him in this relationship with this girl. And you just see them like together and you're like, this almost looks like father-daughter. And it's like he looks good for his age. He's in great shape and all of that, but there's just something about it that isn't clicking anymore, and it's pretty much on its way out. And this feels like his last big movie where he can go down that road. He has to start dating chicks his own age, or something. You know what I mean? But yeah, so I'll talk about the movie a little bit. This was another really pretty movie. It was by the guy Joseph Kosinski or whatever, and that was the guy who made that Tron movie. Now, the Tron film, what did you think of that?
I thought it was okay.
Yeah, I wasn't. I think it had this great idea. It had a great look, but I think the script was just weak, and it wasn't that engaging. I remember I was just tired by the end of the movie. Like it's all dark, and I'm just like, I don't know what's going on or really care anymore. And I didn't feel that way with this movie. I thought Oblivion. Here's the thing, though. Oblivion is a great movie until you think about it. Then after you go, because there's huge spoilers, which I obviously can't give away, but there's some twists, and as you get deeper, you just think at the end of the movie, it's like, why did any of this happen? Like, it's one of those, I don't understand the whole motivation behind the entire story. It's like, why did he have flashbacks, and like, why was it just of those specific, like, it's
right.
Like I said, it's a hard movie to talk about if you haven't seen it. But the funny thing about it, though, is the climax they go into is pretty much a blatant ripoff of Independence Day.
Oh yeah.
The part where what's his face, Jeff Goldblum and Will Smith, they're in the ship. Yeah. And the mothership pulls them in and docks them in the thing, and they upload the virus and shoot the missile, all that. There's something that happens so eerily similar to that scene at the end of Oblivion, but it's not as good. Like, and you really appreciate like something that was made in 1996. That's almost 20 years ago now, right? It's like 17 years ago. And in this scene, there's something but there's just not as much detail or not as much wonder when you go inside. But other than that, yeah, it rips off pretty much every sci-fi movie, but that's okay, because it's like we haven't had big sci-fi movies in a while,
right,
up until obviously Star Trek, which we'll get to. And then, it was an interesting movie. Had a great soundtrack. I've downloaded the soundtrack and I listen to it all the time. It's amazing.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. But yeah, so that was, I'd give Oblivion 3 out of 5 stars.
Okay.
Just like your Pain and Gain.
Yeah. So it's good.
We go 5 stars, not 4.
You'd recommend it.
Yeah. Oh, I definitely would. I don't know how you'd feel at the end of it, but it's good.
Sweet.
And the last movie I'll talk about, which I also can't get into spoilers because I know you haven't seen this either, is Iron Man 3.
Right.
Now, this I would definitely highly recommend, and I would say this for a couple of reasons. Robert Downey Jr. comes back swinging. Here's the thing about this guy, all right? Almost every movie he's been in for the last 5-6 years, he's killed it. Whether or not he was supposed to, or whether or not the movie was good enough to elevate him. Like, for instance, Due Date. Did you ever see Due Date?
I did, yeah. It was okay.
Yeah, but he was the best part of that.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So, and I felt for this one, he definitely came back the strongest out of all of the Iron Man movies. And, well, what did you think of the Avengers when you saw it?
I liked it. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, the one thing I felt with the Avengers was that Robert Downey Jr.'s character was not as funny as he is in his movies, in the Iron Man movies. He was funny, and he probably had all of the best lines, but I didn't feel the lines were as good as the other Iron Man movies. So, and Iron Man 3 was kind of like a reminder of that, because once he starts doing his thing, you're just like, holy shit, this is how funny he can really be. And like I said, this is what I have to stress about Iron Man 3 is the comedy. Lots of comedy, almost to the point where you're like, I don't know if they should have made a joke there and they should have went the dramatic route instead, but, you know, that can be debated. And, yeah, there's a lot to like about it. There's a lot that's kind of, they definitely take some ballsy routes with some things, but overall, yeah, I really liked it. And it definitely improved over the second one. Did you see the second one?
Yeah. That was okay.
What did you think of it compared to the first one?
First one was better, I thought.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how I felt. Like, I liked the second one a lot when I saw it, but then once I started thinking about it, and then I saw the first one again, I was like, oh yeah, the second one's doesn't really have any weight behind it at all.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like this one did, and there's just a lot of cool action set pieces and a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, I'd say in a lot of these superhero movies, you can pretty much interchange the lead actor in pretty much almost all of them, except for Robert Downey, right? I can't imagine them doing an Iron Man without Robert Downey Jr. Whereas he's like, well, you could replace what's-his-face in Spider-Man with a different Peter Parker.
Well, they have.
And it's fine. And even Superman, right? I haven't seen the new Superman, but, I'm sure he's going to
probably not going to do a mind-blowing Superman. He's probably going to be good.
Right.
But...
And to be honest, even probably Christian Bale in Dark Knight, you could have a new Batman, new Bruce Wayne in there in the next movie, and people aren't really going to miss Christian Bale that much. But you can't replace Robert Downey Jr.
No.
There are going to be idiots if they ever try, whenever his contract runs out on the Iron Man thing. But he makes those movies, right? As far as I'm concerned.
Oh yeah.
And he's probably one of the rare sort of superhero actors where it's there's literally no one else that can do that role except for him.
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, superhero movies, all right, any main actor from any of those movies has not been massive except for one person, and that's Jack Nicholson.
All the superheroes.
Yeah, if you think about all of them, no one, Jack Nicholson at one time was probably...
But he was already massive at that time.
Yeah, but his Joker is his definitive role. It's no matter who you are, you remember him as the Joker.
True.
And Christian Bale is a massive star, but you don't... you think of him as Batman, but you also think of him... he's done a lot of other great things.
Terminator and all that stuff.
Yeah. But you're right. Robert Downey Jr., and now he's the biggest star on Earth. He's the highest paid. His think about it. He was in the Avengers, and now Iron Man 3, two of the biggest.
Iron Man 4, I think, right, coming out.
Yeah, that comes out, yeah. And those are the two biggest box office weekends of all time, Avengers and Iron Man 3. So it's and it's all because of him. It's people aren't watching it going oh, well, they made him look cool. It's no, it's him and his charisma.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you literally can't replace that. It's I think if, I like The Amazing Spider-Man, but if for the sequel, that does have Andrew Garfield in it, but if they said, we're going to replace him for the sequel, it's going to be the same, the same character, same universe, but we'll just replace him with, I don't know, some new actor. People would be all right, sure, I'll still go see it. It's if you were to say all right, next Iron Man, it's not Robert Downey Jr. anymore, it's whoever.
John Hamm or
something. Whoever. You'd be whoa. I'm going to
Pump the brakes.
Yeah, pump the brakes.
Don't you do such a thing.
Yeah, because he really does make those movies, and that's,
But he made, and I would argue, he made the Avengers too.
Oh, yeah.
Those, if you watch the Avengers, any scene he's not in, you're just kind of
it's okay.
When's it getting Iron Man again?
Yeah.
That's, true. And that's telling. I remember thinking that the very first time I saw it, because he doesn't show up for a while in that movie.
Yeah.
Everything is going along, just kind of setting stuff up, but nothing's like mind blowing until he shows up and starts doing his Tony Stark thing. You're like, fuck yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then even the other characters get better when Tony Stark shows up because he's like bouncing off of them. Like,
Yeah,
you know what I
exactly.
mean? Like he's got a little thing with like Dr. Banner and all this kind of stuff. And it's like that's when those characters get you're like, oh, you know what I mean? It's like once he enters
Captain
the room,
America when they're having the banter when he's like trying to fix the ship for some reason.
Yeah.
That's the funniest Captain America ever is.
And like the most interesting scene with Captain America in that movie is with Robert Downey, right? It's like, that guy's just, you can't replace it. You really can't.
Yeah, he's completely irreplaceable.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be interesting because right now he's negotiating his contract, and so I don't know if a lot of people know this, but in the Avengers, like think about it, it's probably the second highest grossing movie of all time, or third or whatever.
Yeah.
And all of the actors, Robert Downey Jr. made 50 mil, I think, off of the first one. 30 to 50 mil, something like that. All of the other actors got paid like $500,000. Like Chris Evans made like maybe $1 million. I think the guy who's Thor made, $500,000 as well, something along those lines. Scarlett only made $1 million. And you can imagine like the argument's like, well, we need to dial you down so we can have you all in and bring Robert up.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when you make $1.5 billion, there's money to go around.
Yeah.
And and kids are going to see it because of these actors. So I understand the argument on their end that they want to, and apparently Robert Downey Jr. I don't know if obviously they probably came to a decision at this point, but they were in a stalemate because he's like, I'm not doing this until these guys get paid more money. It wasn't even about him. It was about them. And maybe he offered to bring his rate down. I don't know, but so that's it's another telling.
The type of guy he is.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just a cool thing about him. But yeah, as for Iron Man 3, they need to figure out what to do with Don Cheadle, because Don Cheadle comes in the beginning and comes in the end. But I'm a massive Don Cheadle fan. Like I love House of Lies. And I've loved almost everything he does. Like I think he's great in everything. And I felt that they kind of underused him once again. Like there's just something about him. Because I was a big War Machine fan too when I was a kid. So maybe I'm just projecting that on it. But it's like I wanted to see more of like Tony Stark and Don Cheadle.
Yeah.
Doing their thing together. But I mean, in the storyline, the reason War Machine is doing what he's doing, it makes sense. But yeah, there's also in the middle of the movie, Tony Stark meets a kid that's like knows who he is, or no, he doesn't know who Tony Stark is, and there's just this hilarious relationship that develops, and it actually doesn't really go too far, but Tony Stark is a massive dick to this kid. But it's like, you see it all the time. It's like, a gruff guy would be like, what do you want, kid? Like that type of thing. And it's like that, but in the Tony Stark way. And it never flips back. Like he never comes around and like has a dramatic moment with them. Like it's just, he's a dick to him from the beginning to the end. Like you can tell he likes him, but he's still.
Yeah, you're hard on him.
Yeah, the exact same way to him, which I really appreciate it. And like, I know there's been a lot of debate about like why just throw a random kid in there, but these are comic book movies. Most of these movies have a scene with a kid or something. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Like even the first every Batman movie has had like some sort of kid element to it.
Yeah.
But it was great, and the special effects were great. The best sequence easily was you've probably seen it in the trailer, the Air Force One.
Oh, okay.
When people are falling out of the plane.
Oh, right, and he has to go get them and all this stuff.
Fuck, it looks so good.
Wow.
I don't know how they filmed it. I don't know if they just did it on like green screens or whatever, but it looked like just the way that... Because I hate the way that flying is portrayed in most of those movies.
Yeah.
Iron Man has actually gotten it right pretty well, but a lot of it, there's just some that doesn't look right or like the camera, but yeah, I don't know. It looked great. So,
sweet.
Anyway, that's enough about that. So yeah, that's Iron Man 3. I would give it 4 out of 5 stars.
Nice.
4 out of 5. Yeah. So yeah, now we're gonna get to the film that we saw last night together. Star Trek Into Darkness.
You think you can't make mistakes. But the choices you make could get yourself and everyone under your command killed. But I believe in you, Jim.
Darkness is coming.
This could just be the beginning.
Beginning of what?
All-out war.
I request permission to go after him. I cannot allow you to do this.
Jim, you're not actually going after this guy, are you?
Let's go get this son of a bitch. You are a poem, Kirk.
Sir, there's a ship heading right for us.
You can't even guarantee the safety of your own crew. Now, shall we begin?
I'm sorry.
We're outnumbered. Outgunned.
I have no idea what I'm supposed to do. I only know what I can do.
The ship's dead, sir. She's gone.
No, she's not.
No ship should go down without her captain.
I believe in you, Jim.
And now we're back from the trailer.
That's what I see what you did there.
I do a little pause just to insert the trailer, and then I come back.
I was like, what's going on?
So, I will let Eric take the floor in his review.
Yeah, no, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Great sort of just great summer blockbuster action. It had a lot of comedy moments, a lot of action, a lot of tension, a lot of you think one guy's one way, but he's really the other. A lot of kind of little tiny plot twists, little switch ups here and there, which are always good. I always appreciate that, and some great fighting scenes and kind of like old fashioned. Even like I'm not spoiling anything, but there's an old fashioned like fist fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In it, or it's
There's
like
a couple.
Yeah, a couple like old fashioned kind of fist fights that you're used to seeing in like the old, an old Indiana Jones type movie,
Right.
or just like two guys duking it out. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's like I kind of like that. It's like even though it's in this futuristic world with all these lasers and photon torpedoes and shields and all that stuff, it's just like two guys duking it out, like it looked pretty. I mean, actually, I think he kind of toned down the lens flares on this one, which is kind of good.
He did,
which is
yeah.
good. Like there were still the lens flares, the J.J. Abrams lens flare, but it was definitely toned down even from the first Star Trek, which I really enjoyed, the first one. But I mean, that was like lens flare overload.
Right.
At certain points, you're just like, I can't even see what's going on. There's so many lens flares.
Right.
But this one had those toned down a lot more, which was much appreciated. Like the story was great. I don't really know much about the Star Trek universe. I watched it a bit as a kid growing up, the Next Generation series, but I mean I'm not too close on the I guess they're based on novels or something, right? Books. Gene Roddenberry, I think he wrote a series of books. No.
I don't.
Is it just based on that original, William Shatner series? That was the first incarnation of it.
I think that's kind of how the whole Star
Thing
Trek
came
universe
apart?
started. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Like I never watched the original show or anything, so in terms of like Spock, and Spock had a pretty big role in this, and I always sort of saw him as the number 2, right? It's like Captain Kirk and Spock, but he had actually maybe even more of a role in this, I think, than Kirk did, which I liked. I like Spock.
Oh, you think so?
Well, yeah. I mean, the whole again, I don't want to give away anything, but I thought a lot of the climax had a lot more to do with Spock.
Okay, yeah, fair
You know
enough.
what I mean? Like a lot of it was revolving around.
Yeah. Okay, I could see what you mean. Yeah.
There's some bits with him and his relationship with Zoe Saldana or whatever, and his whole. Because he's half Vulcan, half human. Does he feel emotion, or he chooses when he can feel emotions and all that kind of stuff? So that was kind of cool, cool little thing that they played around with a bit. And yeah, overall, like, I mean, action packed, and seeing it in IMAX in 3D was great. It was in your face, and there were certain sequences that were shot in IMAX, so it was just like the full screen. You know what I mean? Like crystal clear, full screen image, IMAX image, and it just it was a beautifully shot film. And J.J. Abrams seems to be, I think as a couple nights ago, someone Jimmy Kimmel put it. It's like, are you the most powerful Jew in Hollywood these days? And JJ laughed, but I'm pretty sure not just Jew, but he's got to be one of the most powerful dudes in Hollywood, just in terms of all the shows he produces, his, movies he produces, his production company Bad Robot, and then obviously all the stuff he directs, which ends up making bajillions of dollars.
Right.
That guy's got to be he's kind of is the new kind of Spielberg in a way.
Yeah.
I think of Hollywood, just his style. Like I know he openly admits like Spielberg was a huge influence on him, and you could tell.
He was his mentor too.
Yeah, and like Spielberg took him under his wing and stuff, and like you could tell like his
absolutely, yeah.
I mean, I love those Spielberg action adventure movies, and J.J. Abrams, I'd say, nails them almost just as well as Spielberg does, just in terms of like the great characters, great action.
Did you see
a lot of it's inventive?
Did you see 8mm?
I did, and actually, I wasn't I wasn't huge on that one.
Yeah.
But
that one felt very Amblin Entertainment.
Yeah, like a very Spielberg-esque.
It felt very E.T.
Yeah,
not just something missing.
Yeah. I mean, I have a whole thing to do with that movie, but
with 8mm.
Yeah, well, I just thought the ending was like kind of stupid, but
weak,
yeah, the ending was the weakest part of that. I thought it had a good build up of like, oh, this mystery thing.
Yeah.
And then like once you find out what it is and like the whole deal behind it, you're just like, oh, I don't know. I'm like, I don't want to go into that movie or anything, but I was a little disappointed with that movie. But overall, like I think J.J. Abrams is a super talented writer director guy of action adventure movies. So. Yeah. But yeah, no, overall, really enjoyed it. Definitely recommend it. What about you?
What was your favorite sequence?
Favorite sequence? Probably, it might even be like the whole climax scene. There's like a chase. There's,
the fight on the flying trucks.
Yeah, like that whole thing, and like, and the whole like sort of the emotion leading up to that, like, I guess it's a minor spoiler, but kind of like Spock, just kind of like, he's just like, everything's coming to a head.
From this point on, there may be spoilers, so just be careful listening to this.
Yeah, but it's just kind of a whole, definitely sort of Spock's whole, sort of breaking out of his shell a bit, I guess you could say. Yeah. For that whole end, so I really enjoyed that kind of final sequence. Yeah. So what did you think?
Yeah, I don't think I'm as enthusiastic as you about it. That's not to say I didn't enjoy it. I also had an issue with the guy that was sitting right beside me.
Oh right, you're on the end.
We were sat in IMAX, and there was this guy sitting beside me. He was by himself. and he was a mouth breather.
Oh.
So in my right ear, all I could hear was. I'm like, this guy isn't okay. He's not okay. He's got a gun. There's something wrong with this dude. And then every once in a while, you go, and then start rummaging through his pants for his keys for some reason. I'm not kidding. And he did this especially during the quiet scenes. So, for instance, I'm going to spoil this, so just turn it off or cover your ears. But there's a scene where they do, I don't know if you've ever seen this, but Spock dies in The Wrath of Khan.
I've never seen that yet.
Okay, so that's like a famous scene.
Right.
So this is going to blow your mind. The scene where Kirk dies is a complete reversal of that scene. And it's a 100% homage. Even the hand touching this.
Right, like that, yeah.
Yeah, because in Wrath of Khan, he's behind glass. And I don't know, I forget why he dies, but for some reason he dies. And he doesn't die forever.
Right.
He comes back somehow. But yeah, they do that. And that was 100% homage to that scene. Almost to the point where it annoyed me. But anyway, so yeah, when that scene happens and he yells Khan, Buddy is beside me rummaging through his... I'm just hearing this. And he's just making weird sounds with it. And I'm getting nervous because I'm like, this guy's by himself and I'm in a movie theater. And who the fuck knows what could happen to any of us?
This guy's fidgeting. Yeah, and like, you know, with Star Trek, there's some
fidgeter.
crazy-ass fans out there of Star Trek.
Yeah, yeah. Who knows? Who knows? Anyone can go into a movie theater. We don't search anybody. There's no metal detectors. So anyway, so it's obviously it's not really fair to judge stuff on that, but there was just a couple dramatic moments that were like I was taken off. And here's my other beef, and it's not with the movie itself, but with trailers. And I was telling you this last night when we were walking out of the movie. I watched maybe 3 trailers for this movie, and it ruined at least 4 scenes in this movie.
Yeah.
At least 4. And we were talking about it last night. The movie opens with Bones and Kirk on that red planet with the white trees or whatever the hell that was. And then the whole tension is how the hell are they going to get away from these guys who are throwing arrows at them?
Right.
And
they're closing in on them, yeah.
Yeah, and the entire time I'm like, oh, they're going to jump in the water because that's how it went in the trailer.
There's a huge
I'm waiting
shot,
for that shot, yeah. I'm waiting for that shot that happened in the trailer. And yeah, it's the opening of the movie, but it's like, why deflate, it just, I don't know. It's so annoying that trailers are ruining so much. And another particular scene, which to me was more annoying, that it was ruined, was the scene where Khan attacks the Federation dudes, like when they're having that meeting.
Oh yeah.
Because as soon as they walk into that room, I'm like, oh, Khan's gonna kill everybody in there.
Yeah.
And I'm just waiting. I'm like, so when he appears, I'm not surprised. I'm like, yeah, I knew that was gonna happen.
Yeah, I know.
Did you know that? Did you know that scene or?
Yeah, and like same with you. Like so many movies now are just like. Yeah, you watch the trailer, especially ones you really want to see, where you watch the trailer maybe a couple times, and you're like, oh, well, there's a scene where they jump off a cliff in a red forest. So once you see the red forest scene, you're like, well, this is how they're getting away. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just going to wait for that shot to happen because that definitely happens. So, and I don't know how they get around that because I understand they want to show the most sensational looking shots in the trailer.
It's an amazing shot. Like, you want to throw that in, but fuck, man. Like,
yeah. And I mean, there's even in that trailer the whole thing where it's like, I guess what you think is the Enterprise, right? Crashes into the city or whatever.
Yeah.
So again, I'm like waiting for that to happen.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so you're like, wow, at some point, clearly the Enterprise or something that looks like the Enterprise crashes into the city.
Yeah.
So you're just like, all right, well, like once kind of that part of the movie comes up, you're like, this is going to happen.
Yeah.
Like I'm just waiting for that to happen. Right? It's like, whereas like if you didn't know that was going to happen, that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, like tons of movies, just like the trailers just wreck it. But it's hard to resist watching the trailers.
Yeah, no, it's true. And but they got to do something about just fucking not ruining like particular scenes. But so anyway, that's just my beef on that. It has nothing really to do with the movie itself. As for the movie itself, I liked it, and I liked the first one a lot. But I think my overall beef, I don't even think it's with the movie itself. It's just Star Trek. Like, I'm such a hardcore Star Wars fan, and Star Trek just doesn't have that extra. that like makes me really want to get into it, and I actually felt it more in this one. Like this one felt more like a Star Trek movie than the first one, and I'll say this because they're in the ship, they're in two ships for like a really long chunk of the middle of the movie.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's what Star Trek always. That's kind of the mental feeling you always have about Star Trek is the bridge of the Enterprise and
Right.
them hanging out on that spot. And so when they're and I remember there was a whole sequence where it's like, well, we gotta fix the warp drive. Well, what's the warp drive going on? Like there's all this drama for shit that doesn't exist in real life. Right. So you're like trying to attach to it, but they keep saying something else. Oh, we gotta fix this thing, and it's like, all right, well, what's that thing? Yeah, and then it's like, and then in order to do that, it's covered in radiation. And then he goes in and he kicks a thing, and it's like, it was hard for me to attach to that drama because I'm like, none of this exists in real life, so it's hard to like they're all just making it up.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
They're
like
making
the
up the drama.
Yeah.
But that's not to say they didn't do it very well. Like it was, it's funny, and I've been noticing this. I noticed this in Oblivion, and even Iron Man had a couple moments. It's like sci-fi, like our technology in real life is starting to catch up so far that there's stuff in Star Trek. It's like we got shit right now that's better than that.
Yeah.
And one scene I'm thinking in particular is when they're flying, is when they have to fly and
to the debris in space.
Yeah, and land on the other thing. It's like, even if we did that now, it would just be on autopilot.
Yeah.
Because Kirk and Khan have to steer themselves, right?
Yeah.
Like, they're like, and for some reason on the bridge, they have to give him directions of the Enterprise. Yeah. Like, he doesn't have the directions himself to just go, oh, I'll go. Like, and even still, it's like, you would just have that on autopilot. Like, you wouldn't dare risk it.
Yeah.
To do it yourself, you know what I mean?
Yeah. If you had the technology to shoot like that through space, you'd have the technology to just put on autopilot.
Yeah. And there's always there's so many moments where it's just like, why can't you just beam them up right now? Like, there was so many tension, and the Russian dude's just like, there's too much debris. I'm like, you can't tell what's human and not, like, you can beam particles, like, teleport them through space, but you can't figure out what's human and what's a piece of metal.
Yeah, that's always the convenient sort of, because otherwise every situation is be like, oh, beam me up.
Yeah.
So they always remember it's like, oh, they blocked our beaming up capabilities. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, that exists.
And I felt like that happened a lot in this movie that I'm just like, all right, well, can you just think of another problem, like, to write in instead of just, like, always, oh, we can't beam them up right now because of this, or we can't do this or that. And this is because I'm a science geek. I'd be interested to know what people think of like the science people, how accurate it was. So let's discuss the physics of warp drive.
Oh, right.
So you're traveling, and here's where almost every science movie, and this is what I liked about the first one. When you hit warp drive, you're gone. Like, there's not like we're going to see him go. It's like you're gone. Yeah. Like, they're traveling faster than light. Like, we literally can't see it leaving.
Right.
That's how fast it's going. There's a baby crying somewhere. So there's a scene in this where they're in warp drive, and maybe you know Star Trek better than I do, but is warp drive a wormhole, or is it literally traveling?
I think it's just traveling, right?
Okay,
remember, because I think when they popped out of it, they're like, "Oh, we're still 237,000 miles from Earth." That thing, right? It's like it's a distance thing, right? It's just like,
because that's the thing. It's like, so they're in warp drive, and then what's his face? Khan is in his ship, or sorry, not. It's the general dude, right? He catches up in warp speed
and start firing like missiles.
But he's like close. It's just like, whoa. It's like, do you have any idea how fast you're traveling? Like, to just match with your eye, like, be like, oh, I think I'm almost there. It's like, you're literally traveling like across solar systems in the blink of an eye in order to travel as far as they go, right? Yeah. So it's just the idea that he's just catching up, like they're just going 50 down a highway. Yeah. It's like, no, you'd be like you go 1 millisecond forward, you'd be 40 solar systems away. Yeah. Or you know what I mean? Like, so just to catch up, like they're only going 50 or something. But anyway, that's nitpicky. I'll talk about a bigger thing overall, is that when you have sequels, all right, here's the thing. A lot of franchises are doing this. They're not taking risks with their episodes anymore. And I say this, no one dies in any of these movies anymore, in the franchise movies.
Except Dark Knight.
That was the one example I was going to use.
Yeah, okay.
Where that's what makes it. I would argue that the Dark Knight trilogy might be probably the top trilogy that there is.
Right.
And as much as I have problems with the Dark Knight, the end of the Dark Knight is so cliffhanger-y, but still able to stand on it. Like, the idea that they end with in the Dark Knight is so good that Batman takes the fall. Even though that makes no sense, because there's no way Commissioner Gordon could fucking have an alibi strong enough and convince his kids to lie to the cops. Like, they're going to question everybody.
Yeah.
It's like, what, are you taking a stroll with Two-Face in the middle of an abandoned park with your family? And Batman kills him? Makes no sense. But anyway, but that was still a cool idea to end on, and a really dark note, but it all made sense. Like, they made it made sense. And that's what makes that movie so memorable.
Yeah.
And I would argue makes the next one after it so good as well, because you see the way that works. That's Iron Man 3 could have been a lot shittier if the Avengers wasn't in between 2 and 3. Because in 3, for instance, what makes that good is that he has he has panic attacks.
Right.
Whether or not they're
emotional issues.
Exactly. And I hear the way they portray panic attacks is terrible. Which I understand. Because he gets over it in like a couple minutes. And I was reading, it's like, no, people go to the hospital and they feel like they're dying. Like, it doesn't, you don't just get over it in 4 seconds. I was like, okay, that makes sense. But anyway, so that's what makes that good. Because if you went from 2 to 3, there's nothing. Because at the end of 2, there's nothing, there's no one
conflict,
dies,
yeah.
nothing interesting is happening to anybody. It's just an episode.
Right.
And that was kind of what the issue I had coming away from this Star Trek, is that the ending was almost the exact same as the first one. Everyone's back on the bridge, giving thumbs up, and everyone's good to go again. Sorry, that's a massive spoiler. That's a massive spoiler, but we're in massive spoiler territory, so deal with it. The only cool thing was that they didn't kill off Khan.
Yeah. I kind of figured that too. I'm like, they're gonna leave him in case they want to use him in another movie or something, because he's a great. He was
great. Yeah, he was probably the best thing about the movie. That guy's got an insane voice. Yeah. And he was really good. And he does the whole switcheroo. On them, trying to win them over, and then even just the reveal of him being Khan, very Nolan-esque, giving him a fake name and then revealing that he's actually Khan. But that better be the last time movies do that. Better be the last time.
Oh, they use that device or whatever. They use that.
Oh, you're John Blake? Oh, it says here you're Robin.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck. Oh, it says here you're, what's her face? Actually,
middle
you're
name
Talia al Ghul.
Yeah.
And that's how Ra's al Ghul started. It's like, Henry Descartes? Actually, you're Ra's al Ghul. It's like, just say, stop making it a dramatic reveal.
It's like a filing mistake at the registry of names. Or it's like, oops.
I get it that they're doing it just to, because I didn't know that Khan was in this movie until I watched it.
Yeah, neither did I,
I didn't know that he was actually Khan. I was hoping he was, but... So yeah, that was cool, but that just better be the last time they reveal it. And my favorite sequence in that movie was probably I like the fist fight thing at the end. I wish they kind of went more with it. Like, it was very Indiana Jones, but I wish they kind of
a little more danger.
Yeah, or just maybe the whole thing just took place on those flying trucks. It would have been cool if it went to something else, and then and maybe something more than just fists but my favorite part was actually the Klingon scene on Kronos. Cool scene. And it was cool that they revealed that. And it was funny. This is an idea that I was thinking about that I wanted to tell you last night, but I forgot. I think the overall thing, like I said, I like this movie, but I think the overall feeling I had about it is that for instance, in Star Wars, you create an entire universe of shit going on. But if you create that universe, the movie that we watch, the story that we watch, has to be the most interesting thing going on in that universe.
Right.
So the Jedi Council, all that shit, that's probably the most epic, interesting stuff going on in that universe.
Right.
In this Star Trek, the buddy said, "Oh, like the Klingons are shooting at our ships and they want to start a war.
It's like on
We're
the
already
verge
at
of
war.
yeah.
All this stuff is going on." So I was thinking, I kind of want to watch that going on.
Yeah, what's going on there?
Yeah, more than just like two ships being like just hating each other, next to the moon. I was like, I'd kind of rather go see what's going on over in Kronos, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was kind of an interesting thing, and I think also this desire that J.J. Abrams has to be faithful to the '60s Star Trek. Like, to me, there was never a '60s Star Trek. Like, I didn't grow up in that time. It's always been Picard and Riker and the Next Generation crew. It's like I wasn't a massive fan of that show, but I just know that's what I relate to. So I feel like for the next one, they got to, like, I think they want to keep all these characters and they want to, like, pay such homage to it. And I'm just like, fucking just let that guy go, put a new guy in there, do that. Like, don't worry about, like, being true to that shit
it's
anymore.
Like, kill off Scotty or kill off...
or make him different, or like, or make, make Uhura do something that she didn't do on the show. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just don't worry about being faithful, because I don't care. Like, I don't care if they made, like, Kirk black or shit. You know what I mean? Like, who gives a shit?
Jamie Foxx as Captain Kirk.
Yeah, and I feel like same with Spock. Like, Spock's cool, but it's like Data to me was... I think Data was supposed to be the Spock of the Next Generation.
Yeah.
I find him more interesting than Spock. I'm not really sure why. Because he was always, like, the star of the actual movies. The Star Trek movies.
Oh, yeah.
The Next Generation ones.
Yeah,
like, it was he always had, like, a really prominent storyline. And I always found that interesting. And not saying, like, I don't like this Spock, but I'm like, I'm not relating to it, so it's like I don't care if they keep faithful to it. And it's like, I don't know if they're trying really hard to. But like I said, switch it up. Like, who cares anymore, It's not the 60s, and that was, like, a cheesy show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of cheesiness to that they don't need to stay... Like, they should mix it up a bit.
Yeah. No, I see what you're saying. For sure. Yeah, they can kill off someone or make someone, stir shit up.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, for the next one, just kind of, like, just get ballsy, like, kill someone, like, make someone go bad, like, fucking, like, to me, there's such an interesting storyline where, you can make Spock... I think there's a storyline in the TV show where Spock goes nuts and evil. Right. That could be a cool fucking movie, and, like, someone has to kill him or something. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So like I said, this was a great installment. It was very well made. The storyline was pretty good, but there wasn't any. You didn't come away, at least in my opinion. I didn't come away feeling like, ooh, I can't wait for the next one. Like, there's no opening storyline. They could literally make the next one 10 years later, and just it could be its own episode.
Yeah. No, that's true.
There's no, like, if you think about Empire Strikes Back, probably one of the most revered sequels of all time.
Yeah.
How's that one end? Depressing.
Yeah.
It's you're morally inclined to see the next one, because the ending of that one was so off-putting. It's like his hands cut off.
Yeah.
Han's in ice. Like, it's the shittiest ending ever.
Yeah.
That you have nothing to do but see the next one.
Yeah. No, that's true.
But a lot of franchises are going down that road. Like, they're not taking chances with their sequels and endings and stuff like that. So I don't know. Anyway, I'm trying to think. I think that was all I wanted to say about it.
Yeah. No, that's all.
That's all she wrote.
That's all she wrote.
Okay, so what would you give it out of 5 stars? We do 5 around here, not 4.
Yeah, 5. I give it 4 stars.
4 stars.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. I would give it 3.5. I give it the edge because it looks amazing. I think the editing is a little over. It felt a little jumpier this time, but then again, we saw it in IMAX. And when you see that shit in IMAX, it's a lot more jarring, like the quick cutting and the shaky cam. That shit knocks you on your ass a lot more when you're in IMAX.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's kind of one of those things that he might have to go back and look at and be like, oh, maybe we shouldn't, if we want to do another IMAX, maybe we shouldn't.
Get a little more stable.
But apparently he's not going to do the third one, so
Oh,
see.
really?
Yeah, because
he's moved on to Star Wars, right?
Yeah. But if he does it for Star Wars, hopefully he doesn't make it too insane. And that's another thing. I don't want him to pay any more homage. Like,
For Star Wars.
yeah, it's like we all know everything is Star Wars. You don't have to wink at the audience. Like, it just make it part of a thing. Don't make a kid put on a helmet and have the weird Vader voice or something. Like, don't do any stupid shit like that. Like, just make it straightforward. But and it lost points for me when Zoe Saldana started being bitchy in the flying thing.
Oh yeah, well they're like under attack.
Yeah, they're under attack, and she starts being a chick for no reason. I'm like, Zoe Saldana is smarter than that, and she was underused in this movie too.
Yeah,
she's great, and she was given
very little bits.
Yeah, she was almost given less to do in this movie.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. Anyway, so that's our review. So 3 out of 4, 3 out of 5 stars. Eric, 4 stars out of 5.
Yeah, I definitely recommend it, and you would maybe recommend it.
No, you got to go see it. You got to recommend it. But yeah, I just hope for the next one that they kind of do something ballsier. So
True.
We'll see. All right, so that's our review of Oblivion, Iron Man 3, Pain and Gain, and Star Trek Into Darkness. Thank you for listening.